Well, greetings, Cap fans, and welcome to episode 188 of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. I'm Rick Fravanis, and welcome to the show. I'm your host. I've got a partner. His name is Bob Lucius. He's the best gosh darn co-host out there, and this is the part where I change up my greeting. Oh, Bob. Now, better men than me have failed drinking from that unholy grail. You got me all wrong, baby. Nah, honey, I'm good.
Again, you have stumped the chump.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I need to stop doing my best William Shatner speakeasy and do
Uh,
more of nah, honey, I'm good.
I still wouldn't get that one.
You
I've
don't
heard
know
the
that
song. I
song?
know the song, but I don't know who sings it.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't
No,
know.
it doesn't matter who sings it. It's Andy
It's the
Grammer, but
it's the
um,
whiskey
yeah.
Beatles or something.
No, his name's Andy Grammer.
Andy Grammer. All right.
Yeah, yeah, honey, I'm good. That's the name of the song.
Okay.
Bob, why am I singing that to you today?
I have no idea. I have no idea why you're singing "Honey." I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, maybe if you read the story that we're covering tonight,
I
you
did. Does it have?
might.
Is there a bear in it? Is Winnie the Pooh in
Uh,
it?
no, not at all. Bob, this show always goes a little better
Hmm.
when you prepare for
Yeah, well, it's hard to follow your stream of consciousness sometimes, even with the
it.
best of research. But I'm sure it'll all come together like some mass murderer, serial murderer, garage project.
Right.
So, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Welcome to my life.
Right.
Yeah, what are we covering today? Well, that would be Marvel Team Up. What is it?
128.
Marvel one what 128. Yeah, I should
128.
I should come prepared, right?
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Marvel Team Up 128. So this was a 1983 comic, and we don't cover Marvel Team Up in. Have we covered it yet? I don't know if we have, but
I don't think we have.
yeah, Spider-Man typically has been the main character in that series. And then another Marvel character comes in, and it could be anybody. And Captain America has been in the series a few times. This is the story, and I gotta tell you, now when people see the cover, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I know that one." And we'll get to the cover in a little bit. But to me, I really enjoyed this story because my favorite time period, my dream team of Captain America creators was when J.M. DeMatteis was writing, Mike Zeck was the penciler, John Beatty was the inker, Bob Sharon was the colorist, Mark Grunwald was the editor, Jim Shooter editor in chief. Uh, this was the creative team that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed that period of Cap. I thought J.M. DeMatteis really had a finger on what made Steve Rogers tick. He gave him a personal life. And this is like a bonus issue of that time period because J.M. DeMatteis is writing this story, and it picks up just a couple months after another story. And so the villain in this issue is Vermin.
Right.
You remember Vermin?
Yeah, of course, right. One of Zola's little helpers, right? He helped Zemo create him, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So Vermin is in this issue, and what's great is if you remember, we covered this four-issue story arc, which
Hmm.
was the I guess the launch of Helmet Zemo as Zemo.
Yeah, we did cover that one. That was a great story, and Vermin played a big role in that particular story.
Yeah, and if you recall, that was when, I mean, we had seen the rise of the Phoenix, right, where Helmet Zemo attacked Captain America, and that's the famous issue which has the record, done for it,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And we covered that too.
Yeah.
But then J.M. DeMatteis decided during his run to pluck the Phoenix, who we thought died in that issue, and have him come back as revenge against Captain America. And he had this great plot, right, of how to attack Steve Rogers. And we covered that 4-issue story arc in episode 32. So definitely check that out. If you enjoy this episode, go back and do episode 32, which we covered those 4 issues, and you get a little bit more backstory of what led to this. And it's, trust me, much better than what we're going to cover today. But the other thing too, I was listening to it, Bob, just to get a little refresher, because I wanted to remember how I did Vermin's voice. And wow, listening to what we recorded 3 years ago, as opposed to what we're recording now, gotta say, we're like fine wine, Bob.
I thought you were going to say that. Gosh, we sounded so young and energetic, and yet naive.
Yeah, I had hair. uh and anyway, yeah, no, it's funny listening to it now. So if you go back and listen to that, just don't hold it against us. We were still kind of young in this whole process. And the other thing too, I highly recommend going back and listen to episode 13, because we had a great conversation with J.M. DeMatteis.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great conversation, and we did get to dig in deep about a lot of controversial questions, particularly those around Snap Wilson. But overall, he's just one of the greats in the Cap mythos. So hopefully we can might be nice to get him back on some point, Rick.
Yeah, and he talked about creating Vermin, because that's where Vermin got his first appearance, was in that story arc. All right, so yeah, we'll get to that today. Can't wait to talk about that. Bob, anything new with you? Anything going on?
You know, gosh, Rick, you don't know a whole lot. It's that time of year, transitioning from one class to another class, and it's all the snowbirds are leaving Florida, so that's always an interesting time of year. As you get the sense of what's going on when all the vehicle 18-wheeler transport trucks show up and start parking in neighborhoods, and then you can start getting into restaurants as well. So, yep. But on the flip side, we've had unseasonably hot weather this time of year, so it's going to be a heck of a summer for us.
Yeah, I'm really feeling for you, Bob, as I sit here, as you can see, with my double T-shirt on, because it's still a little chilly here in New Jersey.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of T-shirts, so we probably announced the winner of the T-shirt contest. So
Right.
we have this T-shirt here. It is "What Would Cap Do" challenge coin, right? So for our patrons of the show, we do provide them, as a way of saying thank you, this awesome "What Would Cap Do" challenge coin, which, as you can see on the outside, has different characteristics of Steve Rogers, and then on the other side is the Captain America shield with more characteristics of this. So we don't sell these, but we do give them away to our patrons. And so we thought it'd be really cool to make a T-shirt that had "What Would Cap Do" on that. And we had a little bit of a contest, asking people to give reviews. And Walter Cahill is the winner. We're going to be sending out a T-shirt to Walter. So Walter, I will probably have reached out to you by the time you see listen to this. So, but congratulations, and we hope you enjoy wearing the shirt.
Absolutely. And hopefully we get a picture of you in that shirt, Walter. We'd love to see that in the Facebook group. Remember, pants. Rick's the only one who can wear that shirt without pants. So please, pants in the photo.
Yeah, that is key. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Bob. Are you wearing pants today? Because you don't normally.
Absolutely not. No.
Okay.
No. I
Yeah,
told you
we
it was
can.
hot down here. What more do I need to say?
Well, yeah, I figured you might need a little support. If it's a little humid there today.
That's right. Yeah.
uh,
It's a prickly heat. Yeah.
um, Bob, I gotta say, this is a really difficult time to be recording because it's a little bit of a lull of what's going on in our listeners' world, which is in the future. Here, where we are in the past, we don't know who won the favorite capped artist bracket, right? Like we're
Right.
kicking off tomorrow the final four, which by the way is the same final four as 4 years ago, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's Jack Kirby versus John Byrne and Mike Zeck versus Ron Lim. If it's gonna go anywhere like it did the last time,
Yeah.
Zeck and Kirby win and then they go in and Kirby wins. I'm really hoping, I'm really hoping Byrne pulls an upset here.
Mm.
Our listeners are in the future. They
Yeah.
they know what happened, right?
Yeah.
What do you think's going to happen, Bob?
I think it's going to be the exact same turnout as last year.
Okay.
I
Well, not
just
last year,
2000.
2011 or
Yeah, it's
2021.
yeah. I
2021.
think it's inescapable. It's the gravity well. I mean, we're stuck in the gravity well of nostalgia.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, I do like one of our Facebook members actually posted a suggestion, and Mike Perkins, artist and guest of the show, he actually liked the idea too, and that was next time we do the bracket with artists, we pull Jack Kirby out
Mm.
and we call it like the Jack Kirby Award or something like the king or something to
Interesting.
that effect, right?
Interesting.
And then give somebody else essentially a shot at winning it. Now, Mike Perkins had an idea. I don't know how feasible this is. You tell
Yeah.
me.
All right.
He said, do that, and then over the course of 10 different winners, every year you pull the winner out,
Uh
and
huh.
then when you get to 10, then those 10 go at it. Now,
Interesting.
number one, that
It's a
that's
commitment.
that's going to be way over 10 years from now because we don't do favorite artists every year. Sometimes you do
Yeah.
favorite writer, favorite cover, favorite whatever.
Yeah.
Uh Heck of a commitment. And also, I really appreciate the fact that Mike thinks that this is going to stick around that long.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. Hot praise. Hot
Yeah.
praise. Yeah.
Number two, I think that if we put the top 10 winners in, then Kirby's just going to win again.
He's gonna.
Right.
Yeah. It's gonna be the same rack and stack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So,
Yeah.
um, anyway, so those are just my thoughts. We'll see what happens. And the other thing too, that our listeners know, and we don't know, Bob, and we can't talk about it because it's going to be really boring for our listeners, but here I am. And that is, we don't know who won the Captain America fantasy draft,
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And this
right?
year it's even more complicated because there are four teams vying for the prize.
Yeah. So you got you and me, and you got Grant Ball, and you got Mark Domeyer.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know who won. So I don't know who's
Wow.
got bragging rights. And,
Yeah.
it's May 15th.
It's going to be
And
super awkward if it's neither of us.
yeah, yeah, right. Yeah.
We just won't talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it never existed.
Never happened.
No. No. Uh, all right, Bob, you know what? What do you think? We should get to let's get to the issue today. What do you think?
Yeah, probably a good idea.
All right. So today well, hold on. I gotta, I gotta visit the spinner rack, right? So,
All right. Yeah, get to the spinner rack.
yeah. So today, as I mentioned, we're going to be covering Marvel Team Up 128, and this is the famous cover that I mentioned, and I think it's a recognizable cover. A lot of people recognize the cover. I think also a lot of people never read the issue, but the reason this cover stands out is because it's a photo cover as opposed to 99.999% of
Right.
comic covers being drawn.
Yeah.
And so it's a photo cover, which is actually really cool. In fact, Bob, I'm going to let you take the listeners through it.
Yeah, I do want to point out how many were. I think there were maybe three at most, maybe four of these photo covers that Marvel had ever done. So I mean, it is really a small number of them. And I can remember specifically the tale. I think it was Tales to Astonish with the Submariner on it. I don't know if you remember that one,
Mm.
but I think there might have been a third one as well. But in any case, it's a great cover. It's definitely one that stands out. And so on the front cover of this one, we see a live action Spider-Man and Captain America standing on the roof of a building right there on the edge. And then behind them, we see the New York Life building. So we know this is around someplace, mid city, Madison Avenue. And we see the skyline. And it looks like it might be around either dawn or dusk. But it's a great cover. And Cap's, as I said, live action. And we're talking 1980s era cosplay costume. So not the stuff that you see now, but the skin tight sort of reflective lycra. And he's got the shield in his left hand, and he's got that fist ready to go. And Spidey, he's got that cosplay costume like you might remember seeing from the Spider-Man TV show in the 1970s as well. So all in all, just a striking cover. Definitely one that if I saw in the spinner rack, it would catch my eye, and I definitely would want to pick it up.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's really cool. And what's great is at the end of the issue, they spend several pages talking about how they created the cover.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, so it's really cool. So the cover was made by a guy by Elliot R. Brown. And it was funny, they get into what camera he used, and what millimeter and what kind of lens and all that kind of stuff. And then the actors, Spider-Man is done by John Morelli. John Morelli has a nickname of Squid. I don't know why.
yeah.
And then Captain America is by Joe Jusko, artist Joe Jusko.
Young artist Joe Jusko
Yeah,
at this
totally.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, you like Joe, didn't? Did you get a variant of his not too long ago, a few years ago?
Yeah, I did. You're right. I did get a variant. And actually, I got a few copies of that because I really, really liked it. Yeah, he does. I mean, he does some great work, obviously, and has on and Cap in the past and some of those one shots.
Yeah, he did. I want to say, was that the variant of a corner box logo?
It was, yeah, it
Okay,
was,
yeah.
yeah.
So the this story came out cover date of April 1983, had a release date of January 18th, 1983. And this was just a couple months after the Captain America 278, I want to
278.
say,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah, 278. Now, if you we'll get to a quick recap on that in a minute.
I do want to point out something. As you said, at the back end of this issue, I think it's like two, I mean, I think three, maybe 3 or 4 pages. Elliot Brown writes this, synopsis of how this description, I should say, of how he made this cover. But Elliot is also the man that brings you all those technical schematics that we have seen throughout the 1980s and
Oh,
1990s.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I know you're a big fan of those, right?
yeah.
Where the Baxter Building, and
Cap
Shield
Van,
headquarters. Yeah.
yeah, right. The Shield and Falcon's wings and all those sorts of things. He's the guy who does those technical drawings.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be kind of neat to have. I don't know about you, but I was kind of really enjoyed seeing that like in the back of the comic and be like, oh, and then I would spend an hour just studying
yeah,
it, and going through all
right.
the detail and everything.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I mean, I didn't draw heroes and and stuff like that, but I like to draw like schematics like that. So I'm sure I was influenced in some way by Brown's contributions in the handbooks and in the issues as well. So
Yeah. And did you get in trouble for it? Because like what were you all those, weapons and guns and the
yeah,
inside and like this is how you clean a barrel and.
yeah, it wasn't as frowned upon back then as it would be now. Now you would definitely get in trouble. Yeah, you start drawing that stuff in class.
Speaking of uh on just timing and everything. All right, I got a bad dad joke for you. Ready?
All right, lay it on me.
All right. Did you hear about the kidnapping in school?
I didn't hear
Yeah.
about the kidnapping in school.
It's okay. He woke up.
Right? I love that one. Oh, I can't wait to use that one. Oh, man.
uh,
Can't wait for the
yeah,
semester to start.
yeah. There you go. Write it.
Uh,
Hey, get your book out. Write it down. Your
I got already
you
there.
already ready?
I got my professorial red pen. I'm ready
Uh-huh.
to go. So, yes.
Very nice. So the creators for this particular story, as I mentioned before, the writer is J.M. DeMatteis, penciler is Kerry Gammill, and inker Mike Esposito, colorist Glynis Wine. I'm not familiar with that name. Letterer Joe Rosen. He's been around for a while. And then editor Tom DeFalco. And the name of the story is Bob.
Sweet temptation, little sweet.
was, was that like your little version of Prince?
You know, yeah. Do you know those commercials for Dr.
Yeah,
Pepper? Yeah, the little sweet
yeah.
guy. I always like. I have a soft spot for that. I do that around the house a lot. You know, little sweet, the sweet one.
I'm I'm sure that doesn't get old at
No,
all.
not at all for them. They love it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And I like the title. There's remember I told you about a few pages they did about how they made the cover. They actually have a title to that. It's called "A Cover Is Born."
Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The other thing too that I want to point out on the cover is it's a corner box. So in the corner box you see two heads. I miss that. I know I've said that before.
Yeah.
I miss seeing the heads of the characters that are in the comics.
Hmm.
I and Marvel, uh, the Avengers when they had all the different heads, the
Yeah.
X-Men, or Fantastic Four or whatever. So this one they have Spider-Man and Captain America. Now I could guess who did the Spider-Man, but that Captain America is definitely John Byrne. And I think it's the same John Byrne cap head that he would have in the Avengers
Yeah.
in the corner box. And then you get 60 cents. Bob, 60 cents gets you this back in 1983.
It's a team up. You get two characters for the price of one.
Yep. And you know what? On the back cover in 1983, you know what was getting popular? Home arcade entertainment
Oh,
systems, right?
those were the days.
Yeah. So this one was Reactor, the game Reactor. I don't remember that game.
I do not recall.
And it was made by Parker Brothers, but I don't know if like that was in your Atari, if that was in I don't oh yeah, yeah, there you go. For your Atari video computer system or Sears Video Arcade.
Nice. Yeah, I remember that Sears Video Arcade. Yeah, I had a friend who had one of those.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an odd duck. What the hell's that? It's a Sears Video Arcade, man.
My parents don't love me. I'm listen, sorry right now to
Yeah,
anybody out there who
yeah.
had a Sears
I
arcade
know you got it with green
or
stamps,
or
but
would have
yeah,
loved to have a Sears arcade and
yeah,
didn't have any.
right.
I'm just telling you right
Yes,
now. It was a
right.
cheap joke. I just threw it out there.
He had the shot, Mav, and he took it. Yeah,
I took it. Yeah,
yeah.
you give me a low hanging fruit like that. Um, all right, should we get to the inside here?
Yes.
All right, let me get my readers out. So Stanley presents Spider-Man and Captain America, and then I like it. They did the Captain America logo. That is, I should know this. Yeah, I think that is the logo from 1983. Yeah, yeah, it was. They recently changed it to that. Um, and then on here, as Bob pointed out, it is sweet temptation.
It's the
And
little one. Yeah.
and it is an image of the star of the series, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and it is a street fair in downtown New York, and you see that there are vendors set up, and games and things like that. Five shots for 25 cents, Bob.
Been a long time, buddy.
That was a long time ago. In fact, gosh, Bob, This story is 41 years old.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. Even I wasn't even born when this story came out. Why is that funny?
Yeah, no, not funny at all. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yep, Peter Parker in his civilian identity. He's walking down and he's got his hands in his pocket and he's got his head down. He's got kind of like a pensive look on his face. Um, Bob, as big as the trope is of Steve Rogers, man at a time, Bucky, Sharon, like all
Right.
that
Yeah.
happened, from the mid 60s to the mid 70s, that
Yeah.
trope. Peter Parker down on his luck.
Yeah.
That's got to be just as big.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's definitely.
So he's walking here, and behind him are a couple of characters, a couple, if you will. And there's a guy uh, who's carrying a lot of stuffed animals and eating a slice of pizza. And then a young lady with him. She's wearing something almost like business attire for 1983, right? She's got almost like matching pants and
It's
you
it's
know
it's got the whole leisure suit feel to it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's
We're
polyester for sure.
and the turtleneck, Bob. You
Yeah.
you had
Oh
a thing
yeah.
about
Oh
turtlenecks.
yeah.
And she's carrying her purse and they're walking behind and by the way, Peter Parker's got his camera on a strap, hanging around his neck. And it reads, it seemed like a good idea to Peter Parker at the time. Spend an evening with friends at a bustling New York City street festival. Lose yourself and your troubles amid the noise and the crowds. But the best laid plans of mice and Spider-Men have a nasty way of souring, as Roger Hochberg and Mia Carrera have already noticed. Peter Parker is not a happy person. Now, I should also mention, Bob, that the angle of this particular shot is taken from the bottom
From
and
the
from
ground
street
up.
level,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so you see litter on the ground, you see newspaper blowing around, you also see a rat.
You do. A toothy rat.
Yeah. And it is New York, right? So
Hmm.
it's not unexpected, I
Yeah.
guess, right?
True.
So we turn the page and you have Peter Parker kind of just um, moping around and his friend reaches out and says, "Peter, what is it? You're walking around like the sword of Damascus is hanging over your head." Peter, now Bob, what is the sword of Damascus?
Well, it's non-existent, Rick. That's what it is. It's supposed to be the sword of Damocles.
Right.
Yeah. So I could see where maybe the writer got confused because there is such a thing in swords called Damascus steel. In fact, my Marine Corps officer's saber is made from Damascus steel. But the sword of Damocles is an entirely different thing from Greek mythology, where the petty king at the time, his name was Dionysius, was having a terrible day, and his little court jester, said, "Oh, I wish I had your life. Why could you be upset?" And he said, "Well, here, have my seat." And he gave him all the wonderful things, but he hung a sword hanging from a single horse maned strand above his head, and so he would never know when that sword was going to fall on him, and hence we get the idea of the sword of Damocles.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
If this was an episode of Cheers, you'd be the Cliff Clavin.
Oh, thank you.
You'd totally be the,
That means a lot
hey,
to me.
well, there, Rick, it was a sword of Damocles
Oh,
back in the 1800s with the Palestinians. And
I feel like I'm getting mixed messages from you, Rick. Prepare, don't prepare. I mean, I don't know what you want, but your point is well taken. Why could the sword of Damocles be hanging over Peter Parker's head? He's a good-looking young man,
now
smart. He's got a job.
I'm gonna take a little. I'm gonna defend J.M. DeMatteis here.
All right.
You said that the writer could get confused.
Yeah.
Maybe he wrote that Mia was confused,
Could be.
right?
Could be.
That she threw that out there.
Seems a stretch, though.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob, she's a dame. What does she know?
Again, folks, just a low hanging fruit.
uh,
Please in the comment section.
please don't tell my wife. Um, and so Peter's just kind of ignoring her, and he's thinking to himself, I wish I could answer you, Mia, but I think I'm better off just pretending I didn't hear you, because there's no way I could tell you that, as Spider-Man, I have fallen hard for a costume crook named the Black Cat, and that she's in intensive care now, very possibly dying because of Doc Octopus. When was that, Bob?
That would have been in the Spectacular Spider-Man number 76, Rick.
Mia, I wouldn't burden you with my problems even if I could. You and Roger are floating on cloud nine, lucky to be sharing feelings that are honest and uncomplicated. My luck is another matter entirely. Not only do I spend half my time fighting supervillains, but I have to go and fall in love with one too. Hey, is that who I think it is? And who is it, Bob?
It looks like Steve Rogers out on a night about town with the love of his life, but they're not using that word yet.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it's Bernie Rosenthal. Oh, Steve, this is so much fun. Look at us out on the town like a normal couple, and we haven't once mentioned you know who. You mean Captain America? Who else? Now, wait a minute. Whoa, whoa, whoa. How does she know he's Captain America?
Rick, you would know this if you've read the comics, right? I mean, he eventually had to open up to her.
He didn't open up to her. She figured it out, Bob. I
Well,
think
he
it was
had to admit
around
it, though.
issue around 275. I think it
Yeah,
was around the time where that happened. And
just
um,
prior to the Zemo story. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it was funny when we had DeMatteis on on the show. Again, check it out, episode 13. He he talked about that. He said, if I had my wife, and we were out and about, and I had a costume on with a mask, and I was doing something, she would know who I am,
Yeah.
right? And think
Right.
about that, right? Like
Yeah.
Casey would totally
Oh,
figure
yeah.
out who you were if she saw you out in public with a mask on, just like Meg would for me,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah, Bernie sees Cap up close in public and she just figures it out. Ever since I found out that you're who you are, our lives have been topsy turvy. That's why it feels so nice to finally be together like this. Just a man and a woman in love. Whoops. Almost said that word, didn't I? The word is love, and it sends a discomforting shiver up Steve Rogers' spine. For the last woman he dared to love, SHIELD agent Sharon Carter, was taken from him by a cruel and senseless fate. Since Sharon, since Sharon's death, he's been understandably reticent about matters of the heart, and that reticence has more than once impeded the progress of his relationship with Bernie Rosenthal. Bernie, listen, you don't have to be self conscious about expressing the way you feel. You know that Steve? Steve Rogers? Saved by the Bell, eh? That's Peter Parker. I met him when I was doing some illustrations for the Daily Bugle. Well, what brings you here tonight, Peter? Out on a photo assignment? Nah, just trying to shake off some mental cobwebs. I see you've got your sketchbook. Working on something big? Hardly. I'm just doodling for my own amusement. Bob, do you like to doodle for your own amusement?
Well, you know I do, Rick.
How
Yeah.
often do you doodle,
Yeah,
Bob?
at least twice a week. Yeah. Yeah.
Say,
There's a lot of whiteout. No, it's just artist supplies, Rick. Come on.
I am not touching that low hanging fruit.
Best for the both of us.
Yeah.
So.
Say, let me introduce you to Bernadette. Introductions are made, greetings exchanged, and 30 minutes of gaming and gorging later. Hey, by the way, thank you, JM, for just getting past all that. We didn't, none of us cared.
That's right. Small talk.
What Rogers throwing at one of those three throws for 25 cents. Watch this, Mia. I'm going to win you another prize. I think I've got enough, Roger. And she is. She's holding a bunch of things and she's just reapplying her lipstick. What's the matter, Peter? You look startled. And with good reason. My spider sense is buzzing up a storm, and that means trouble. And as Roger's about to throw a baseball, what happens, Bob?
Oh my goodness. A rat jumps down off the tent's roof onto his shoulder.
A rat. A slimy, disgusting rat. Oh my gosh. There are dozens of them all over the place. They're like an army. An army of rats? No, it couldn't be. That's not our only problem, people. Look over there. And you turn the page, and what are we seeing, Bob?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, there's rats everywhere jumping and cavorting about, but then we see among them vermin.
Okay, I'm not seeing the same thing, Bob. When I turn the page, I see a Hubba Bubba ad. Way
Oh,
to give it away.
I miss Hubba Bubba.
Actually, I'm sorry, Bubble Yum. Bubble Yum.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, now I see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They look, but what they see is not pleasant. For the rats have been joined by a feral-eyed pack of wild dogs that cuts a sharp-toothed path through the terrified crowd, clearing the way for their lord, their master. Vermin, the man. I almost said man bat because we know the character Man Bat. He's a little bit more
Right.
famous than Vermin, and the R kind of looks like a B,
Yeah.
but it's the Man Rat. Come, my friends, while the soft-skinned idiots flee and panic, let us forage for food. Let us feast. And that's how I did the voice back in episode 32, Bob.
There he is. There he is. I love this panel because it has that dog eating a slice of pizza.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, in the bottom
Yeah.
right corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say that's the dedication I have to this show, Bob.
Yeah,
That's the
I
kind of
know.
research I do.
Yeah.
I went back and listened to episode 32 so I could just get that voice down.
Yeah. Did I at that time did I make fun of you for sounding like the snake guy on what's that show that I like? I used to watch with my son with
I don't know, Bob. I didn't listen to the whole episode.
oh, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds just
But
like
you
you're a dead
did sound
ringer.
like you were in the kitchen.
Yeah.
This was back before we got you the new microphone, and you sounded like you were in the kitchen.
Makes sense. I spend a lot of time there.
You're like got a slice of. Do you hold a slice of pizza in your
I
face like
do.
this
I
dog?
do. Any chance I get. Yeah.
Yeah. It is Vermin, just as I suspected. But the last I saw of him was at Zimo's castle in Mexico. How did he get back to New York so fast? Dumb question, Rogers. You made it, didn't you? And that lunatic is nothing if not resourceful. Resourceful, and by the looks of things, more brutal, more uncontrollably savage than ever. Parker's doing his job, snapping shots of the mayhem for his paper. And it's time I did mine. Roger, my apartment's just a few blocks from here. Take my keys and get over there. Fast. You and Mia will be safe there. What about you? I've got to stick around and get some more pics. Stick around? Are you crazy, Peter? No, just greedy. Jameson will pay me a fortune for these. Go. Get out of here. But Peter. Come on, Mia. We better do what he says. Terrific. Now if I can only find a place to change. Bernie, Steve, so help me. If you tell me this is a job for Captain America, it is. Can't you let the police handle it for once? Take a look over there, Bernie. Then you tell me. And what is he referring to, Bob?
Well, in the very next panel, we see Vermin flipping a civilian over while he's taking out a police officer who's trying to subdue him with a billy club.
So what are you waiting for? Go stop that hairball. That's precisely what I intend to do. You get back home, and I'll call you in the morning. I'll be waiting. How would you describe that look on Bernie's face?
Uh, he's got this. Have you been watching the new Fallout series?
No, I have not.
A lot of talk about the Ellie Purnell who plays Lucy, the main character in the Fallout series, because she naturally has those very big eyes that you often see in video game female characters. And
Mm-hmm.
Bernie looks just like that in this. She's got super big eyes, and she's got sort of from the lower half of her face is really non-expression, but the upper half you could see that she's got her eyebrows stitched up, and there's a great deal of concern and worry as she leaves Steve to his devices.
Bernie deserved better than this. But what else can I do? I'll make it up to her somehow. But for the moment, and he's running into a building. Return the page. I need an out of the way place to switch into my fighting gear. And this is about as out of the way as you can get. And he runs into the men's room and he goes into a stall. So come on, Rogers, move. And then he busts out of the stall and he's in full Captain America garb with the shield.
With
Now,
the shield.
Bob, where the hell did he have the shield?
Right. Yeah. But he's got no case. He's not like carrying a backpack or anything, right? He's got a loose fitting sport coat on, but it's hard to imagine how a shield could be hidden under that sport coat, but somehow he managed.
I've never, ever bought that, ever.
Yeah.
In any form of any artist, any writer, any period, that Cap can wear his shield on his back and put on
Yeah.
a sports coat and people wouldn't know there's a shield behind him.
Right. Yeah. It does ask you to suspend disbelief for a bit.
Oh, right. Like I totally did that with the man rat, right? But you put a shield under his sport coat and
That's
I'm
it.
gonna,
You crossed the
yeah.
red line. Yeah.
So he busts out of the stall in his uniform, and busting out of the stall two doors down is Spider-Man. Spider-Man. I seem to be running into you in the strangest places lately. Rooftops, men's rooms.
That is the 80s. So
What the hell does that mean?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, isn't this a glamorous profession? I assume you're about to tackle the weirdo with the rabid entourage. His name is Vermin, and you assume right. Well, then what are we waiting for? Let's get him. And then they leave the men's room, and then a guy, I guess, who's in the stall between the two, he peeks his head out and he's like, only in New York.
That's a great
So
sequence.
so then we get to the next page, and there's Vermin, and he's got rats all over him, and he's just eating. What's that, my friends? Oh, I see. We have visitors. The game's over, Vermin. Game, Captain. This is no game. This is survival. In childhood, the city streets were my only home. Now transformed as I have been by the hated Baron Zemo, I shall make them my kingdom. Tear him up. And he sicks the wild dogs on Cap. Now listen, I'm going to give Kerry Gammill some props here. I have heard from artists, some artists hate to draw animals because they say that it's just difficult to draw, animals, dogs, horses, whatever. And these aren't bad. These are passable. You could.
Yeah, they look, I mean, to me, they look frightening. I mean, they're very beefy, rabid dogs.
Yeah, and
So,
they're all
yeah,
showing their teeth, right?
and their musculature is done well. So, yeah, he has done a great job on these.
There's no point to this, Vermin. We don't have to be enemies. Let me help you. There must be a way to undo Zeman's work and change you back to normal. Idiot. When I was normal, I was a starving, pitiable wreck. Now at last, my friends and I have power. You don't mind if I test the limits of that power, do you, Musketeer? Oh, I get it. Mouseketeer.
Nice.
Because, you
Yeah.
know, he's
Yeah.
kind of like in the
It's a
mouse family.
it's a Parkerism.
Yeah. The only one doing the testing, fool, will be me. Nope. And then next thing you know, dozens of rats just start swarming Spider-Man. Although warned by his infallible spider sense, the web spinner pauses for a matter of seconds, stunned and shaken by the sight of the veritable ocean of red-eyed creatures suddenly skittering toward him. As the first wave descends, claws and fangs, shredding cloth and flesh, Spider Man topples groundward, overcome not so much by weight of numbers, and as by a deep rooted and unshakable revulsion.
Yeah, I get that. I get
Yeah.
that.
Next page. Vermin's not going to let up until these rats have gnawed the wall crawler right down to the bone, which means it's time for me to stop waltzing with these hounds and lend a hand. Now, that top panel, we're seeing Cap stretched out in a very unique way. It's very reminiscent of Frank Robbins,
Hmm. Interesting. I'm not
right?
sure I see that, but I'm not that, it doesn't strike me as Frank Robbins esque, but
Well, Frank Robbins took liberties with
mm,
how people's bodies
work.
went,
Yeah.
you know?
Right. Yeah.
And so here we have Cap's one leg directly behind him, another one directly in front of him, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're spread out as far as you can go.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with the arms. One
Yeah.
is directly in front, one's directly behind. It doesn't seem like that's a natural position.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine like what's going to happen next in terms of the stability of like how can he maintain his balance or
Right.
yeah.
So he takes a hose and he sprays Spider-Man to get the rats off of him. Thanks, Cap, a lot. Now, if you don't want to end up as a bowl of red, white, and blue gravy train, I suggest you take a flying leap. And I mean that quite literally, because Spider Man webbed the net and Cap leaves it so that all the dogs are netted. Sound advice, son. No, I don't want to go. I want to stay. I want to kill them. Yes, I know we got what we came for, but very well then. But next time. I see Vermin took advantage of the confusion to make good his escape. Him and everybody else. What is it with that guy, Cap? I faced slime in my day, but he gets the Golden Sewer Award. Vermin's like some human bacteria, spawned in the gutters and back alleys of the city. If there was ever any decency, any dignity in his soul, it was bled out of him years ago. And let's not forget his breath. He's got very bad breath. Who? Oh, it's my favorite agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Gail Runsiter. Now, Bob, if you
Yes.
recall, a couple of things about Gail Runsiter.
Oh, I sure do.
So, a couple months ago, we saw her and leading a band of S.H.I.E.L.D. storming the castle in Mexico to rescue Cap. But what they
Yes.
didn't know was that Cap had um, convinced the mutates to surrender and be peaceful, and they just Shield just saw them as monsters and started firing on them and killing them. And Cap was really upset with her, and he was calling her all kinds of names. I remember he called him, you fool, you idiot, and things like that. Which was pretty harsh.
For Cap.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but it was in the heat of battle, and he was begging them to just stop doing what they were doing. Did your boss, Nick Fury, send you over to check up on Vermin, Gale? Nope. Tonight I'm just a civilian passing by at the right time. Care to join me for a walk? Well, I. Don't worry about hurting my feelings, Cap. I've got to get going anyway. See you around, pal. And Spider Man heads out. Gale, since you're here, there's something I think we should discuss. The screw up at Zemo's castle, right? Right. Look, Cap, I know we did a dumb thing just barging in like that, but we thought we were saving your life. That's the whole problem. I specifically told Fury to keep out of it. You and your attack squad jeopardize innocent lives. Would it help if I said I'm sorry? Because I am. Could hardly sleep for a week. I was so upset after the way you yelled at me. I guess I did lose my sense of diplomacy at the time. Diplomacy? I thought you were going to belt me. Uh, would it help if I said I'm sorry? They share a smile that relaxes nerves and lowers defenses, and soon Cap's back at her apartment, sitting on the couch. And she is bringing him a refresher of, looks like, coffee. Glad you decided to come up to Chateau Runsiter for coffee. Do you like the place? You, hey Bob, when people come over to your house, do you say, "Welcome to Chateau uh,
Yes, I do.
Bob," or what do you
Yeah.
call it?
Yeah, Shea Bob.
Chez Bob.
Yeah, it's not quite a chateau. It's plain old Shea. Yeah.
You can't say Shield doesn't pay its agents well. What's this rent? About 600 or 700 a month? Try 2,000. 2,000. When I was a boy, you could have bought an entire apartment building for that much. Well, that was a
now,
long time ago.
now, Rick,
Yeah.
I did a little research on this.
What?
Yes, believe it or not. So two
Who are
thousand
you and what did
dollars
you do with my co-host?
in 1983. Do you know how much that would be in today money?
Yeah, it would be a lot. It would
Yeah,
be, I don't know, like I don't know, 5,000?
6,500 thereabouts. A little less than 6,500, but
Mm-hmm.
that's a serious apartment.
It really is.
Yeah,
Maybe it comes with one of those skylights that opens up at the top and that
yeah. Those are
right?
extra. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, because
Yeah.
all the crime fighters need those. Well, you know what they say, you're not getting older, you're getting better. I must confess, sometimes I wonder. Don't. You're one of a kind, Cap. You're special. When they made you, they threw away the mold. Oh, geez, listen to me. Miss Cliche of 1983. I appreciate the kind words, Gail, but they're more than just kind words, Cap. Since the day we first met, I haven't stopped thinking about you. There were so many times I wanted to call you, talk to you. Talk? About what? Oh, I can't wait to get to this. I gotta turn the page. Ah, more double ads. Wait, hold on. Us. And she looks at him. What's that?
That's creepy, but that's just creepy.
Yeah? Yeah.
Yeah. Us. She's like trying to like peer into his soul, you
Yeah.
know?
And then Cap looks back. How would you describe his look back?
Now this is I love this panel because he's like, what the he gets just like, what the hell? Right. And I love the fact that he's got like a triple chin. He's like pressed his
Oh,
head
on the
so far
side?
back.
On the
Yeah.
side?
He's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
And then there's a little within inches the mouths. So he's sitting down. So she's
Yeah.
coming in for the kiss,
She is
right?
coming in strong.
Yeah. I'm feeling a little Steranko vibe here.
The only thing that would improve this panel is if you could just see the tip of her tongue. Yeah. Just,
It needs a soundtrack. Boom, chicka,
it
boom,
does. It
boom.
does. Yeah.
And then Cap gets up abruptly. No. What is it, Cap? What's wrong? This is wrong, Gail. It's not that I'm not attracted to you. I am. But I've been this route once before with Sharon. And I left me with a heartache that's only beginning to fade. Sharon!
I still miss you.
You see, I found someone who really loves me. Not this suit, not the legend, me. And I'd be an utter fool to throw all that away for a moment's pleasure. And by the way, I think Gammill said, "Ooh, I should probably draw the shield a little smaller than normal so it looks like a sport coat could go
Could
over
fit
it
over
because
it.
it's on
Yes.
his back right now."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, it's the one by Mattel.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. But you wouldn't be throwing anything away, Cap. No one would ever know. I'd know, Gail. And that's one person too many. Good night, Gail. Yeah, good night. And what did he say? No, no, honey, I'm good.
There it is. I can't believe I didn't make that connection.
You
With
it took
even
you wait a minute. You
even
didn't
with
even
my
make it now
abundant
until I said that?
no, even with my abundant research, I cannot believe I could not peer into your head and pluck that clue out.
And then we cut to Peter Parker, the Chelsea apartment of Peter Parker sometime later. Ooh, I ache all over. If it wasn't for my incredible recuperative powers, I'd probably be in the hospital by now. Well, then, at least I'd be near the Black Cat. Then I'll take a quick shower and get over there to check up on her. With Dr. Octopus still at large, her wounds aren't the only danger. And he opens up his door, and who's there, Bob?
Oh my goodness, it's Mia and her
Mia?
leisure suit.
Mia, what are you doing here? You gave us your keys, remember? What happened to you, Peter? You look terrible. I'm all right. I just got jostled around by the crowd. Where's Roger? He was feeling a little queasy, from the rats and all, so he went home. Why did you stay? Actually, it was Roger's idea. He wanted to make sure you were all right. You might not think twice about running off into the middle of a riot, but we were worried sick. Sit down while I get something to take care of those cuts. So she goes into the bathroom medicine cabinet. Boy, Mia, you really don't have to sit. I'm sitting. Let me know if this stings too much. And she's putting some like antiseptic on some of his cuts on his forehead. What a living doll. She's pretty, she's intelligent, she's warm, she's normal. I'd give anything for a woman like her. Someone I could relax with, forget about Spider-Man and supervillains and saving the world. What is it, Peter? Why are you looking at me like that? Mia, and she has her hand on his shoulder, and he puts his hand on her. Yes, Peter. Now, Bob, how would you describe that look?
Hopeful. I think she's got a hopeful look on her face, but also maybe a little skeptical.
I don't see any skepticism.
You know?
I can see the hopeful, but I also see a little. It went from sweet and innocent
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
oh,
I see that now.
how you doing?
Yeah.
How
Hey
you
there.
doing?
Yeah.
You
This
know?
Marvel Team Up series has a little bit extra for the readers, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
It
But
makes team up in a
then
very different way.
coming from the TV, you want to do the announcer voice coming from the TV, Bob?
Oh, you know I do. Just in from WNEW Newsroom, a creature matching the description of the rat-like beast who disrupted the San Gennaro East Feast. I'm sorry, Feast. Oh, these cue cards are terrible. Earlier this evening, has apparently barricaded himself into a D'Agostino's grocery on 8th Street, where
Vermin. Look, Mia, I think all the excitement tonight has got me in a bigger tizzy than I realized. I really need to get some sleep. Sure, Peter, but do you need money for a cab ride home? No, I have my car, but great. Then I'll just be heading for the shower now. Glad you could come. Thanks for the first aid. See you in school. But Peter, and he kind of shuffles her out the door. What was that all about? That was Peter going, nah, nah, honey, I'm good. Seconds later, and look at that. Peter's jumping out of his skylight from his apartment and hopping into the next building and then shooting a web. That bulletin was like a blessing. I can't believe what I was about to do. Another moment, and I would have been pulled Mia close in, and who knows? It's bad enough that I was thinking of betraying Roger's friendship and the Black Cat's love, but what would Mia have done? Probably screamed and called the Vice Squad. That's what. I know I'm under a strain, tense and depressed, but Lord, I never realized I could be so weak. Maybe a little mayhem and madness will help me forget about it. For a while, at least. And he swings in front of D. Agostino's.
D'Agostino's, yeah,
It's a
D'Agostino's.
hard name to say.
It is. It is.
Spider-Man, I hate to say it, but we could use your help right now. So there's a whole bunch of police there. Sweet of you to admit it. What's the situation? That nutcase went on a rampage in there, nearly killed the manager and some customers before they got out. Every time we try to get in, those rats and dogs of his force they force us back. And Cap comes running up. We'll take it from here, officer. Cap, I guess you listen to the same radio stations I do. Ready for another shot at the maniac? Ready, willing, and able. Uh, Interesting. I thought that was a TV, but I guess it was a radio. Where you did the announcer voice?
Oh, right, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I guess it does look like a radio. You see that it looks like a speaker in the back.
Yep. And so they get into the front door of the store. Winghead, how come we're tippy-toeing in here and no gross little mousies have scampered out to greet and eat us? I'm betting the Vermin knows we're here, and he wants us inside, where he can use the shadows to his advantage. But the question is, where will he strike from, and when? According to my ever-attentive spider sense, right there and right now. And sure enough, Vermin's jumping and leaping onto them. Die, die, die! Eloquent sort, isn't he? Fast, too. If I hadn't dodged just then, what would have happened, Bob?
Well, Vermin would have landed on top of him.
Next page. We were simply stocking up on provisions for the winter, Captain. But since you have so stupidly decided to join our little party, don't tell me you're going to kill me, right? Not just kill you, Captain. Rip you from bloody limb. No, what are you doing? Now, Spider-Man, while I've got him tripped up, grab him. You don't have to tell me twice, Avenger. I owe this creep. Try to stop me, man spider. I dare you. Vermin shall leave you crushed and begging for death. You know, Vermin, there's something in your eyes, in your voice, something that reminds me of everything rotten, vile, and sticking inside us, all the inner monsters men hide from themselves. And tonight, of all nights, I don't want to look at you a second longer than necessary. You won't. And he throws him into a display of cans going everywhere.
Some employees are going to come in the morning and was like, I just did that.
Yeah, exactly. Lord, Vermin tossed Spider-Man off like so much dead weight. But with his reflexes and his agility, the webhead shouldn't have been taken out. So he's Walls raised my shoulder. Another inch and he would have my throat. My fighting's as sloppy as Spider-Man's. And that's because we're both reacting more from our guts than our heads. Just being around Vermin seems to trigger some primal, animalistic response that clouds the... And he throws his shield. Blast. Missed him. You're not paying attention, Captain. And such inattentiveness could prove fatal. I gotta tell you, he doesn't talk like a rat creature. His vocabulary, I should say.
Oh no, yeah, he's got a pretty good vocab.
Yeah. 500 pounds of shelf slams America's greatest hero to the floor. And the last sight Captain America sees before unconsciousness engulfs him is Vermin's hate-twisted countenance. At last, and now to, what's that? No, this time we're not leaving. I said no, and he tosses a rat aside. I want Captain America's head, and I am going to have it. And he's about to strike at with his claw at Cap's head. Think again, scumbola. That's a new word. I don't think I've ever said that before,
I have
Bob.
never ever used that.
And he uses his uh, Spidey webbing to get the back of his claw, and it makes a little noise, Bob. I ache in places where I never knew I could ache. There's a chorus line of Rockettes kicking around in my head, but mister, you're not laying a finger on Captain America. Idiot! You forget that Vermin does not stand alone. Attack, my friends. Attack! Where are they? They could not have abandoned their beloved master. Your friends have more brains than you do, Vermin. They know when to retreat. And Captain, I guess, was pretending to be unconscious.
I think he just came back to consciousness.
Well, okay. I think probably right, but I'm defending Cap because I think it's lame that a 500-pound shelving unit knocked him into unconsciousness when it didn't even hit his head,
Well, maybe it just knocked the wind out of him.
just like he pounds Vermin. You okay, Spider Man? I will be, just as soon as I web Mr. Charm here up nice and tight. Cowards, cowards, set me free. I'll kill you both, kill you both, kill you. And Cap looks down at him. Silence. Next panel, Spidey looks down at him. Silence. Come on, Spider Man. Let's get the devil out of here. I'm with you, partner. Like I said before, I don't want to look at him a second longer than I have to. Kill, 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 kill. That reminded me when I read this. Did
Uh-huh.
you ever, during Thanksgiving, listen to Arlo Guthrie's um, uh, Alice, um,
I don't think so.
Alice's restaurant?
No.
Ah, ah. Up in the area where I grew up, it was a ritual in the Philadelphia radio station that every Thanksgiving they played Alice's Restaurant. It's by Arlo Guthrie,
Uh-huh.
and it's a very long song. It's like 12, 15 minute song. It's a story, and he's just telling a story with the guitar.
Uh-huh.
And it's a story of Alice's restaurant, and it was a protest story basically. And one of the guys, um, uh, the singer, the narrator of the story, he gets arrested, and but eventually it's during the war, and there's a draft, and the sergeant asks him, "Why do you want to join the army?" And he figures, he's going to act crazy, and he goes, uh, I want to kill. I want to kill. I want to kill. I want to kill, kill, kill. And so when I
Yeah.
saw this, that's what it made me
Yeah.
think of. Now, the funny part of that song is the sergeant's like, "You're our boy."
Of course.
All right, so we get to the last page here,
Indeed.
and it is the two of them up on a high building looking down on the store, the Gastinos. Well, this was certainly been a night to remember. As far as I'm concerned, it's been a night to forget. Why? Because you saw something in Vermin that's also in yourself? That was pretty
Yeah.
stretching it there,
Yeah,
Cap.
they just they got a yeah. Yeah, the life lesson out of this story is a bit of a stretch, but
That's nothing to be ashamed of, son. You said it yourself. All men have those monsters lurking inside. If I learned anything in my years on this earth, it's that we've got to drag those monsters screaming into the light if we're ever to be rid of them. I I guess you've got a point there. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got to be on my way. There's somebody special waiting for me, and I swear I've never wanted to see her more than I do right now. Cap runs off. Yeah, I know what you mean, Winghead. I know just what you mean. And then he swings away on his webbing, and in the background is a picture of Felicia Hardy aka Black Cat. All right, Bob. I'm not going to get into the making of the cover and anything like that. I think we can skip that part. But what'd you think? What'd you think of this story?
It's a fun story, right? I mean, there's a lot going on here. A lot of love tension. These guys, they need to get some action, I think. But I'm thinking like 1983. I was probably what sophomore in high school when
You were
this
hoping
was.
to get some action too.
Yeah, so I could see how like this might resonate with me as a sophomore in high school, and love Lorne and all that sort of stuff. Poor Peter Parker, this, that, and the other thing. These temptations. There seems to be a lot of that going on
No,
in the
Bob, it's
story.
Sweet Temptations.
There it is. There it is. Right. But then we got Vermin, right? We got Vermin, the animalistic side of our inner passions. And so a very tenuous connection there at the end, between these temptations we have and then the far more worse animalistic temptations and passions of Vermin. But it's a fun story, right? We got Peter Parker cracking jokes. We got Steve Rogers moralizing. It hits all the right spots. And we get to see Bernie. We get to see Steve out of costume. We get to see Spider-Man and Cap working together. Look, it's got all the right bits, for a good story. So I'm glad we did the Marvel team up.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I again, I saw this as a kind of a continuation of the J.M. DeMatteis story from just a couple months earlier, and it's kind of like a bonus story as far as I'm concerned. All right, Bob, I
Mhm.
go first.
You do. What's your favorite panel, Rick?
But I'm going to go with page 12, which is the one in panel 4. And this is when Spider-Man was coming out of his skylight,
Uh huh.
right? And he comes out and he's leaping, and then I just like the way it's set up. He's you got the city skyline behind him, and not even skyline, right? He's in the city, and he's on the rooftops, and you see all the different buildings. And I like the angle of the way Spider-Man is kind of putting his hand down, and he's jumping, and he's shooting his web with the other one. So I like that panel. That's my favorite panel.
Yeah. All right. Good choice.
No cap in the panel.
No cap panel. All
Yeah.
right. Bold choice, Cotton. All right. So,
I got that reference.
yeah. So good. Good. For me, Rick, I have to go. I think it's around page 8 or so. It's Captain Spider-Man coming out of those bathroom stalls.
No, no. I wanted that on my t-shirt.
You want that on your t-shirt?
I totally want that on my
Oh my
t-shirt.
goodness. It is such a great sequence of panels, right? I love the humor, right? I mean, some great art too, because they're both busting out in their own respective ways. Cap using
Hmm.
his shield to bust through, and Spidey almost like swinging out of his particular stall. But just that whole sequence is really awesome. But the center panel, I think is great, and just the look of surprise on Cap, and he is surprised because he's got that little sort of yellow halo around his head to let
Hmm.
you know that he's surprised by what he sees. So it's a great panel.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love the panel. I do. I wanted to put it on a t-shirt. What are you putting on a t-shirt?
Well, I'm gonna go with it's it's a quirky choice, Rick. It's the middle lower panel of and I think it's around probably page 12 or so. No, a little earlier than that, I suspect. It's the one where Cap's sitting on the couch and you see his profile and he's sipping a cup of coffee, and the
Hmm.
word bubble above his head says, "I must confess, sometimes I wonder." I'm going with that.
You want that on a
I
t-shirt?
do want that. I just want Cap, because have you seen the meme with Kermit the Frog and he's sipping a cup of tea?
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you would recognize it if you saw
Uh-huh.
it. I see it a lot. Kermit, it's none of my business, but and he's like Kermit sipping a cup of tea, and it's usually that's the start of the meme. I
Uh-huh.
could see this being a meme right here. Cap sipping the cup of coffee. It's none of my
Okay.
business, but
Nice. All
yeah,
right. Cool.
yeah.
Put
What
that
about
on a t-shirt
yourself?
for you.
Yeah.
Well, I got a pivot. I have
Oh,
to
you
pivot.
do? Yeah.
uh, I wanted the busting out of the stalls, but I'm gonna go last page, second panel. Cap and Spider-Man shaking hands,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah,
he says, "I guess you got a point there. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got to be on my way." You know, so
yeah.
that's a kind of a classic, kind of fun little panel. So I'll put that on a t-shirt.
All right, all right. And then how about your time capsule?
I'm gonna go with going back to the street fair,
Uh-huh.
and I want to say it's page 5, panel 2, and it is where Peter Parker is running away, and he says, "No, just got greedy. James will pay me a fortune for these," and he's running away. In the background, you see a kissing booth,
Mm.
and yeah, exactly, just
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a kissing booth. They don't do kissing booths anymore, at
Yeah.
least not not the festivals that I go to. But yeah, I would say that's a point in time, right?
Yeah.
That's definitely uh, kind of states a time period back then, and yeah, you don't see kissing booths anymore.
No, I'm not going to lie to you, Rick. We used to have the carnival come to town every year where I grew up in Drake, Massachusetts, and I used to really look forward to two things. One of them was elephant ears,
Oh yeah, yummy.
fried dough, you know, with the powdered
Hmm.
sugar on. And the other thing is looking for the kissing booth, which they never had, and yet I religiously walked that entire carnival ground every single year in hopes that they would have a kissing booth.
And
Like
how old were you?
a lot. Oh, well, I was definitely from the time I was in middle school to the time I was in high school. Yeah. So
uh, I gotta tell
definitely.
you, if there was a kissing booth,
Yeah.
I don't want to kiss that person. Oh my God. How many people has that person kissed? And more recently, you know what I mean? Like I'm
I'm not
I'm
sure I
not
thought of that
I'm
as a
not
young.
standing in line
Yeah.
to kiss somebody because I'm like, all right, let me look at the few people in front of me. Okay, I'm basically kissing them too. Okay.
Yeah. That's a good
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Mm.
It's a good point. I'm not sure I thought, in terms of hygiene and kissing hygiene back in those days, other than, potentially getting, the kissing disease, mononucleosis. That was like quicksand and mononucleosis were the two things that scared me most, at that age.
And one of them was a hell of a lot more likely.
That's true.
So Bob, next episode, we're gonna go back to what we call a recap.
Hmm.
And so we're today we acted out the panel by panel. And instead we're going to do a recap. So we're not going to act anything out, but we're going to describe what's going on in the story. Then we're going to talk about it. And
Yeah.
we tend to save that for longer stories because they take a little bit
Yeah.
longer to get through. So we're going to do something that listen, we're 3.5 years into this podcast. We haven't we haven't really touched Captain America Volume 6, Ed Brubaker's second volume, right? So
Right.
this was coming back, what was it, like 2010, something like that?
2011. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in 2011, we have Ed Brubaker kicks off a brand new story, brand new series with Steve McNiven, and we want to basically do that first story arc, which was 5 issues. And for those who maybe haven't read it since 2011, it was one that had Johnny Bravo, where there was a story of somebody that Cap had originally worked with. I guess it was during World War II, and then he went off into this side dimension and has been plotting his revenge against Cap ever since. And then he breaks free, and all hell breaks loose. So,
Yeah.
fun story by Ed Brubaker, and amazing art by Steve McNiven. And so, we'll do that first story arc, issues 1 through 5, and we'll do a recap.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. And I love that particular arc because it has a connection to the timely Golden Age stories. So a little bit of research on Brubaker's part, I'm sure, to pull that together. But it's sort of a fun, quirky little aspect of that arc.
Absolutely. That'll be a lot of fun. So come back next episode for that. Bob, as always, had a lot of fun wrapping cap with you.
I have two, and I cannot wait till next week.
All right. He's Bob Lucius. I'm Rick Verbanis. And you, if you don't mind, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Give us a review on YouTube as well. We always appreciate that. And maybe we'll even talk about it here on the show. And as always, thanks for listening to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast.